FM 94, The Dark. It is that time again. It's time to get to know a band we play here on The Dark. And tonight, I get the chance to talk with the lead singer of the band, Redline Chemistry. And that is Brett. And first of all, Brett, thanks so much for joining me here on The Dark. And glad to hear your voice, and glad to see you guys are back rocking again.
Hey, appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, let's talk about the band Redline Chemistry. And I know there's a lot to get to because we actually chatted a little bit off the air here before we started this interview. But let's talk about the history of the band Redline Chemistry. I know you guys are out of Kansas City. How did this band all get together and all about? How did this thing all start?
Well, I mean, it started probably even before we got together, to be honest. But this group's we've been running since August of 2004. I was fronting a different band here in Kansas City, and the rest of the guys had their own other projects. And both bands doing pretty well in the scene, and I ended up departing my situation, and it was right at a time where they were looking to restructure and kind of go a different direction. And Tom used to be the lead singer for that group, and he actually was the one that approached me at a show and was like, "Yeah, well, I'm thinking about switching over to bass, and we'd, like you to step in and sing." And the timing just worked out. I went and did a practice, with them, and went to that practice, and they had already grabbed I think they had seen an acoustic show that I did with my previous band, and I had sang a song that I had written, and I went to the first practice, and they had already arranged it within their scope. And so, like, the first song that we ever played was at the first practice, and it was "Apology," which is on Chemical High and a Hand Grenade, the most recent release. So that's kind of, once that happened, it was a fit. I mean, everybody was right around the same age, same influences, same goals. Same passion for music, same work ethic for, working on your craft and trying to be the best that you can, passion for songwriting, and just all those things that it takes for a band to have a line, where all the members can move in one direction. I use that term very loosely nowadays, one direction, but in the same direction.
Nice.
So, but yeah, it was a good fit, man. And that's kind of the beginning of how it started. And we jumped right in, put out a 3-song EP, started trying to playing shows all we could, build locally in KC and regionally, and then just moved on from there. And now here we are talking to you on the radio 10 years later.
Here you
11
are.
years later.
Exactly. Hey, Brett, obviously the name Redline Chemistry, there's all sorts of possibilities why you named the band Redline Chemistry. Is there a story behind it at all?
Not necessarily a story. I mean, obviously the choice of a band, choosing a band name is always a difficult. You're, going through all kinds of ideas, and of course you got 5 guys, and it's like, that sucks, and, come up with a million ideas that it's impossible to get everybody to roll with. But this one kind of worked out. I think it was a kind of a point where we probably just eventually were like, okay, screw it, let's go ahead and go with this one. Eventually you got to make a decision. So, but the meaning really behind the name was that the red line refers to a tachometer, and it really just kind of, for me, defines the energy and the chemistry within the band. Pushing ourselves to the limits. Everybody works really hard. All of us are, in it for the long haul, the good and the bad, and just the way that we work, and it's pretty intense. It's very passionate, and a lot of times it's pushing each other over the edge of whatever it may be. But a lot of times it's pushing us over, pushing us into the realm of making each other better too. So it's a dynamic between the band that really, is defined by the name.
Very understandable. Very understandable. We're talking with Brett. He's the lead singer of the band Redline Chemistry. This band obviously been around for a while, and you guys actually had some pretty decent success, I'd say, back in the, we can call it the late 2000, maybe 9, 2010, 11, 12. And then kind of, I wouldn't say you fell off the map by any means, but you kind of took a little break from everything. What all happened, I guess, from that time when you guys were doing pretty well to getting back to now back on the air again?
Yeah, I mean, we signed with the label finally in 2009, and then, of course, we were able to move on with Dying for a Living, put out an acoustic EP, Easy Does It. And then, yeah, Tug of War was the last record. That was 2013 where that came out. So really, yeah, we were on an upward climb, continuing to grow. I mean, we were definitely at a peak of our, exposure, and kind of feeling like we were really getting into a mature phase of, being a rock band on the national scene, around 2013 after a few years of hard touring and learning some things. And unfortunately, our record label went bankrupt, and it shut the whole operation down. And we came off the road early, right in the middle of the Tug of War cycle, came home in that September of 2013, and it was just kind of a very swift thing. We were touring all summer, and then all of a sudden we found ourselves, at home without a label and without any of the financial backing and whatnot. And it left us in a situation where we were involved with the label financially, and obviously the record labels invest their capital and their resources into it, and so there wasn't a lot left over for us to take for ourselves in order to fuel the engine. So it really resulted in us all going home and having to go back to work and make sure things were taken care of at home with our families, and everybody's got kids, majority kids, and are married. And so just one of those things, life kind of hits you. One minute you're on the move and things are looking great, and out of nowhere things can be taken away. So it was definitely a humbling experience for us, and we walked away from things just because we all needed a break and kind of needed to refocus and reevaluate. And everybody kind of delved into their personal lives, and we kind of just knew that the music was going to come back when the time was right, and it was going to happen naturally. And we didn't force anything or go too out of our heads or get too down. It was definitely discouraging, and took some adjusting. But like I said, we knew things would come back in the right time, and sure enough, about a year after all of that, got in touch with Pavement. They got a hold of us with an interest in working with us, and at the time we weren't really ready to get in and do a full new album, but certainly interested in what we had. The options that we had to continue, building on what we had accomplished to date. Certainly didn't want to walk away from everything. And so, I presented them the option of, putting out our original debut album, which was recorded in 2005, but it got shelved after we probably unloaded just a few thousand copies in the Kansas City area back in 2006, 2007, and we never printed any more up, never did anything with it. And, we ended up getting signed and moved on with the other material. And so that material just kind of sat there. And it's a CD that we've always felt very passionate about. It defines an era of our writing when we were, just getting started. We were hungry. We had, different frames of mind, less experience with the industry, but maybe even a more fiery passion to write, music, because you're young and hungry and dreaming. So, it's just one of those things where it was an opportunity for us to re-engage with our fan base, re-engage with the industry, and, try to get back and make ourselves relevant, even in a time where we had been gone for about a year and a half, and just trying to rebuild, So it's given us an opportunity to come back, and, Meds for the Hypocrite went to radio for a good while. It's been out around 8 weeks and getting some response on the charts, and getting good responses from fans, and talking to a lot of people like yourselves, and who are happy to give us time of day to talk and spread the word. So we appreciate all that, and that's kind of the long and short of where we've been in the last 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah, and you've gone through a lot, obviously. You mentioned, obviously, families. And I think half the time fans don't remember or don't think, oh, yeah, that's right. They have a family. They have a job. They have, people to take care of. And when something like that happens, like in your case, a record label runs out of money, basically, and closes up, there's not a unemployment line for you to go, okay, here, I'll just collect my check every month. It's like you got to go out and you got to find something to make ends meet, don't you?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, everybody kind of went back to what they were doing for, beforehand. But, I don't like to get into a lot of that stuff, really. But, yeah, that's the gist of it. It's a reality check, and we had to make some adjustments and be flexible. And, we certainly understand. We had fans that are disappointed that that we've had that we disappeared, or people were wondering what happened, and we didn't feel like we wanted to make some kind of big formal statement or issue of like, oh, this happened and the band's officially this or that, or we just kind of faded into the background,
right?
Took care of our own business, and we figured we'd come out of it, in due time, and that's kind of just the way we handled it.
Absolutely. And it's cool because now, obviously, you got the old CD, I guess you could say, the old album that you put together, and now you've remixed it, reinvented it, redesigned it, all that. And what I guess I was curious about, since you mentioned there were a few copies out there, has anybody brought up an old copy from the album that you had 10 years ago?
Well, there's a few definitely around this area of people that still probably have copies of it. There's a couple songs on that record, Home and Meds for the Hypocrite, are two songs that to this day are still staples in our live show. If we're headlining a show, you're probably going to hear both of those songs, and that was a way for us to expose those songs, nationally, where people would come up to us and like, what was that song, this song and this song that you played? It's like, where can we get that song? It's not on any of the records, and we were always in that position of, well, it's on our first record that we released a long time ago, and it's taken out of print, and now we don't have it. It got to the point where it a little underground buzz with our fans, and I would get messages fairly frequently of fans asking where they could get a hold of this so-called long-lost record that doesn't exist or whatever. And it eventually got to the point where I was like, man, just send me I'll just burn it for you. Send me your address and I'll burn it and send it to you, because I got tired of telling everybody I don't have it. And so it was awesome when we were able to get together and put that out there. But
talk about that, putting that obviously album that you had back in 2005, now putting it together basically 10 years later. What's that been like?
It's been pretty easy, to be honest with you. I mean,
yeah, it's all there, right?
I mean, it's been fun, and it's helped. It's helped us kind of step away from you get lost in the chase of all that stuff. A few years ago, and you're looking at the charts all the time, or you get lost in the business part of it, and you get lost in the chase of the success, or the chase of trying to make the income to survive, or you're constantly worried about you're always having to stay relevant and grow, and you kind of at times can lose the perspective of just the music side of things. And it's very strange, because I can listen to the content of this record, and it's like I could have written it in the last year, because we wrote it when we were young and hungry. The songs are about, getting through adversity, not giving up on your dreams. There's a lot of themes in there, just overcoming, situations where, the naysayers and breaking through all that stuff and just trying to succeed. And it's just funny that those same sentiments, it's almost like coming full circle back to the first record, and it's actually the same exact elements of emotion and situations that we're going through now, which is
right.
Rebuilding and trying to stay alive amongst the mess of everything and the adversity of things. And so it's been a cool experience, and it's definitely awesome to take all those tracks and go back into the studio, and haven't listened to that stuff in a long time, and then you go back and you're listening to the old tracks and finding ways, different things to like, oh, how in the hell did we not use this little guitar lick that
exactly
was recorded at this time? And
right.
or you're like, why in the hell did we put that part in there?
Right.
And there were some things where we were able to take some stuff out, like Apology. We took out a lot of the music in the first quarter of the song and made it more vocal drum focused and to create a larger growing dynamic throughout the song. And it felt like it helped shorten the song to where we were pleased that we weren't getting bored with it, as it approached, midway or half or 3/4 of the way through the song. So it just kind of gave us a fresh look, and it allowed us to just get back to the roots of being involved with our music. And simple as that, when we walked away from everything to, take hiatus, it was legitimate, like cut and dry. We walked away, and everybody went off on their own deal, and we hardly really saw each other all that much because everybody was so busy. And it was just nice to get back to that connection that we all had in the beginning, which was this music, and kind of brought some new blood, into some new fire into everybody. It's starting to get the itch to play, starting to get the itch to write some music, and it's just kind of refueled things. We're still in the phases of rebuilding, like I say, but I feel pretty good about where things are at. Everybody does, and we're taking things in a more realistic approach. We understand some things now that we maybe didn't understand before. We have more realistic expectations. We know that we can do what's in the realm of what's possible for us and what's right for us, the individuals of the band, and hopefully we can grab some fans and write some good music and keep things relevant and alive in the process of balancing all of that, without major label budgets or any of that stuff at this point. And we're just trying to stay alive.
Absolutely.
And, see what happens, So.
Right. I hear you. We're talking with Brett, lead singer of the band Redline Chemistry. It's kind of funny, just listening to you talk there, and I was thinking back, it's like, how many people in the world today would love to be able to go back 10 years ago and redo what they did in their life? It's in a kind of a way, by doing a CD like you really didn't have come out, like you'd mentioned, we could have done this, we should have done that. You grew up 10 years, you kind of figured out what you really should do. You actually get a chance to kind of redo it all over again. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, per se. I mean, of course, I'd rather be in a situation where we're at that higher level with some less worries on the financial end, but
absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, it's always, music is always there to, to bring that excitement into our lives, and it's always going to be there. So
right. Well, obviously you're going to get there again. I think you got the energy back. I think you guys are excited to get back out. I know you'd mentioned you're going to do some local gigs, at least down in the Kansas City and that surrounding area, at least to start out with. And then eventually you're probably going to get back out into the major market touring and stuff like that. And I guess the question I'd have to put to you is, if you had to put together like an ultimate 3-band bill, it's Redline Chemistry going out with a couple other bands, who would those bands be?
Well, would we be headlining or opening?
You can headline. Let's make you the headliner. Why not? Come on.
I mean, if you're talking about the 3-band bill that we would,
I want your ultimate 3-band bill, okay? So it can be anything.
To be a part of?
Absolutely.
I'd probably say Foo Fighters, Deftones, Redline Chemistry if there was just 3 bands and it was one of our dream bills to be on. I don't know that lineup the Foo Fighters and Deftones would ever land on the same bill, but that Deftones Incubus tour that was just rolling around was a pretty sweet mix too. So, but yeah, I mean any of those 3 bands would be great, but we have a ton of favorites. But if you're asking me dream tour right now off the top of my head, I'm going with Foo Fighters, Deftones, and us.
I think that's I don't think that has to be a dream. I think that could happen one day. Absolutely. Hey, another question for you. Current bands in the active rock world, what are you liking right now? Are you listening to any other bands out there? Who are you kind of digging right now?
A lot of the new stuff, I'm not too privy on a lot of the new stuff. I mean, I listen to all kinds of music, classic stuff and even pop stuff and singer-songwriter stuff. I think it's City and Color is kind of a singer-songwriter guy that I saw him in Vegas at the House of Blues a while back, and really gotten into him on the tip of mellow acoustic type stuff. As far as new stuff, I mean, Nothing More right now. We played with them before, and they're kind of hot right now.
Yep.
Would be one of the newer up and coming rock bands that I've kind of paid a little attention to, and they're solid.
How about, you mentioned obviously lots of different tastes of music. What's in your music collection that might shock me?
Oh, I don't know if it would shock you, but I mean, my range is probably from like Rachmaninoff, classical composer,
nice,
all the way to In Flames, to Motley Crue, to Dishwalla, Toad the Wet Sprocket, Alice in Chains. I mean, all over the board. Probably, even into some pop stuff. I can get down with some Bruno Mars, and I love 80s pop stuff too, like 80s rock and 80s pop. Phil Collins, great stuff.
Awesome. Fair. We're getting to know a little bit more of Brett, of course, lead singer of the band Redline Chemistry. Here's a question that might make you think for a second. I ask this question every single time to every interview that I do. What artist would you like to cover one of your songs?
What artist would I like to cover one of our songs?
Yeah. And it can be anybody.
Oh, shoot. I don't know, man. Probably anybody that would do it.
Yeah, anybody that would do it.
I'd be honored if anybody would do it.
Well, think, who would you like? Maybe one of the songs that you have, maybe a past hit, maybe a current song, something like that. Would you like maybe an artist out there? Maybe it's a current artist. Maybe it's an artist that's no longer with us. Who would you love to have cover a song?
I don't know. Maybe Pink Floyd.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah, we're heavily influenced by them, so maybe we got some dreamy enough, some epic enough stuff. But I don't know. That's obviously hypothetical.
Right.
There's probably a ton of artists that I would be thrilled if they covered a song.
You never know.
But I mean, honestly, to be honest with you, the bands that I like them for a reason, and it's because of their music, not mine. So.
Absolutely. I get that. Just kind of seeing maybe what artist out there. You never know. Maybe you're a big Bruno Mars fan, you said. So maybe Bruno Mars does a little Redline Chemistry.
Yeah, I would happily take the exposure of Bruno Mars landing a cover of ours in his repertoire of radio smash hits.
Absolutely. Why does it always have to be the opposite way? A rock band trying to do a pop song. Why can't a pop artist do a rock song?
That's true. I mean, I guess there's probably some out there that have done it, but it's generally reversed, isn't it?
Doesn't happen very often. Hey, just got a few more minutes with you. We're talking with Brett from the band Redline Chemistry. I'm assuming you've heard your music on the radio before, right on that? You've heard your songs on the radio?
Yeah.
Well, what does it mean when you hear your music on the radio?
For me, it generally means turn the channel.
Wow.
No, I'm kidding. I mean, I don't, it's great, man. I mean, it's a great feeling to I just feel like, hey, man, this on the radio. Other people are listening to it. It's a huge honor for anybody that's, grown up with a passion and that dream of music or being a rock star. Or, I think it kind of makes me think back to the days when I was a kid and I was only like dreaming about someday I'll be on the radio, or it's just kind of it's humbling, but it's exciting for sure. I mean, it's probably more so in the early years that it really stoked me. Hearing like our first tune, which actually the Empty, which is on Chemical High and a Hand Grenade, was the first song that ever played on the radio, and it was played here in 98.9 in the summer of 2007 because they put us on Rockfest. So, like, when we heard that on the radio, I mean, sure, we were stoked, you know, almost 9 years ago, you know, as just, you know, local and new band. And so pretty exhilarating, man. It's exciting.
Absolutely.
I'd rather be on the radio than not.
Absolutely. And you know what? We're going to have your latest song, Meds for the Hypocrite, on the radio here in just a moment. But before we get off the air here, how do these fans, maybe brand new fans, how do they find out more information about you, the band, Redline Chemistry, and the music that's out there?
Facebook, obviously, a great social tool for us. It's Facebook, Redline Chemistry. We're on Instagram, Redline Chemistry. Twitter, it's Redline Chem, just the CHM. I don't know if they didn't have room or something, but that's the Twitter. Our YouTube channel it's RLC Video. It's got tons of videos, you know, the music videos from singles. It's got song tracks from other records. It's got a lot of live video footage and touring footage, and I think we even actually have a short movie on there called The Stash, where we bought an alien and blow up alien in Roswell, New Mexico, and we made a little short film about how Andy's mustache was stolen from his face by aliens, and it was put on this alien. So the alien stole Andy's mustache. There's a horrible short film on YouTube that only the band thinks is funny.
Nice.
But, so stuff like that, and then we're all, you know, on Facebook, all our Facebook individual pages and stuff. And our website right now is currently down, so we're working on that.
Okay.
Little glitch in maintaining the domain name, and so we're switching the website and hopefully getting a merch store up and things like that here very shortly.
Sounds good. And you mentioned touring, too. That'll be coming up hopefully in the near future, and any maybe future dates up here in Minnesota. You've been to Minnesota before, right?
Yeah. I think the first time we played up there was at, man, I totally forgot the name. Minneapolis, one of the legendary venues.
Oh, First Avenue, probably.
Yeah, First Avenue.
Yep.
We played there, a couple other places. So, yeah, definitely spent some time up there.
So
love to get back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully we can get you back up here sometime soon. And I tell you what, a lot of fun talking to you today. Hopefully the band gets just gets out there again and has a lot of fun. Get that energy back, get regenerized, and get out there and start rocking again. And thanks so much for joining me today.
Hey, before you let me go, I forgot to plug the record being available. It's on iTunes, Amazon, Best Buy, and FYE. All those online avenues. Just before you let me go, I'll plug the whole reason why you're talking to me.
Absolutely, and of course the new album, which is actually a remake from the old album, Chemical High and a Hand Grenade. Am I right on that?
That is it.
Awesome. Brett, we're going to play your latest song, Meds for a Hypocrite. Sound good?
Sounds great, man. I appreciate it.
Once again, that is Brett from the band Redline Chemistry. And here's their latest song. It's Meds of a Hypocrite. It's on the Dark. It's on FM 94.